Welcome to the Lost Rewatch. We're almost finished with season 4. I got Ethan and Eckhart here. If you watched Westworld, not Westworld, yeah, Westworld.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired today, but we were talking about Westworld all during season 3. You can still see those episodes. Go back and watch them. Just go on Crazy Inc. TV and just hit Westworld playlist, and you can see all of them. And rumor is, after this is over, that there might be a leftover rewatch. Maybe. There's been talk.
Okay.
So
look at his eyes.
So again, this will probably. I'm thinking probably September, October, because we're recording today, so I'm not going to record until 2 weeks from this Sunday. So we're taking a little break.
Yeah, I thought you were going for like a record. I thought you were trying to be done like by the end of July or something. It seems to be going really
well. Originally, I thought that's what it was going to be, but then I started realizing, I go, what am I talking about? I'm only doing 2 episodes a week. I started in August. There's 120 something episodes, right? 119 or whatever it is.
I don't know. I just watched this big interview with Damon Lindelof, and he compared the 120 episodes to like the 28 of the leftovers. How he had it hard back then. He's got it easier these days.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I can't imagine Lost being 28 episodes.
No. There's 28 really good episodes.
Oh, is that what he said?
No. That's
what you're saying.
That's IMHO.
I would say there's more than 28.
I know there's more than 28. I'm just being
at 29.
Stupid,
at least. But anyway, we got 2, I thought, pretty good episodes to talk about. At least I thought so. I mean, I remember at the time when they first aired, they were pretty amazing. Even though I had figured out that Michael was the one on the boat just because they said he was coming back.
Yeah.
If they should have never said he was coming back, and I don't think anybody would have guessed Michael.
That's a good point, because that was like in a period. I actually read up on that. There was even controversy about where they were going to announce that he was coming back, and it shows like that back then. It was an era of much more disclosure, and now like they try to hide things as much as possible
because it ruins the show. I mean, especially for a show like Lost, where guessing is half the fun. Mm-hmm. But when they said, "Well, Michael's," I go, "What the hell? Well, what's Michael getting back?" And then Ben says, "I have a man on the boat." Well, who else is it going to be? It's going to be Michael. Yeah. So it wasn't like, "Oh, meet Kevin Johnson." Okay, got it. There was no shock.
I don't remember being shocked, and I also remember back then, like a lot of people just don't read credits, but I read credits, and because actors need their credit, like it's contractually obligated to get it, he's in the credits too.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't remember being shocked that it was Michael.
No.
The funny thing is, like, so Jack, you've obviously been watching 2 episodes a week to prepare for this, right?
Right.
Whereas I, speaking for myself, probably Ethan as well, we just watched these last 2 episodes, right? So that when I see like Michael, walk over there with the hoodie, I was like, oh yeah, this was supposed to be a big reveal.
Yeah. Well, they even did the where he's disguising his voice because the doctor goes, you got the blood stain still on the wall and got cockroaches everywhere. And I'll say this though too, is if you're sleeping in that room and there's cockroaches everywhere, if I'm Desmond, I'm not taking my shoes off. I'm leaving my shoes on because the last thing I'm going to do is jump up and have like a cockroach, because I've had where in my garage I have shoes I do for the mowing the lawn stuff, and I used to just put them on and there'd be beetles and stuff in there. I'd be like, oh my God, that's gross. So now
he was in the Army though.
I get it, but still, I don't want to be stepping on bugs.
Yeah, but he was like stationed somewhere way up north in Scotland.
Yeah,
there wasn't any like bugs in that cold weather.
And I like how Radzinski was in that scene. He was on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Radzinski or
No, the blood
Or
spot.
Minkowski.
No, Radzinski. The blood stain on the wall.
Remember from
Right.
the Hatch? I got it.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Like, did they ever actually say whose blood spot that was
I don't think
in
so.
the boat? Right. No.
No,
How did? And I'm sorry, I didn't watch again. I didn't rewatch all the episodes season 4. How did Minkowski die?
He remember in the Constant he had to he didn't have a constant, so because he had to have his connection because he went and him and somebody else traveled over. That's who probably was the other person that traveled with.
Where did Minkowski go? Where did he travel?
They got out. Remember, they got on the raft and they went towards the island, and they got all discombobulated. When they came back, they were not acting. Nothing was normal. So I wonder if it was the person he was traveling with, if that's whose blood stain it is on the wall.
Yeah.
Obviously,
because it has to. I mean, if you haven't seen The Constant in a while, you should probably watch it because it had to drive. It was, drive you insane going back and forth, back and forth.
Here's how my cycle goes. Okay, so you asked me to watch an episode. Last time we watched a season 3 episode of Lost. I get sucked in. I watch all of Lost. From there. I watch the entire episode. I wasn't expecting you to call for a while, so I just watched all of Lost. And then you're like, "Oh, would you like to come and do Yeon and stuff?" And I was like, "Okay, great." So I turned it on and I started 2 or 3 episodes back, and it was The Constant and the other. That's why I got jealous. I got episode envy for the rewatch because before this is The Constant and right
Because
after.
you weren't allowed to do Constant.
Yeah, I was allowed to do Constant. I was allowed, or the beginning of the end, which is like next.
I probably should have asked you because I asked several people. I had 2 people lined up right away, and then everyone else got saying, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm like going, all right, we'll just go with the 2 we have. And I just, because it was at the last second, I was like going. So if I would have known, if I could go back in time and check my notepad like Faraday does,
We would understand that your constant is Ethan and Eckhart.
Ethan, I need to have you guys here for The Constant. Oh, but I didn't check my journal.
I'm gonna cherry pick my leftovers episodes. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think we just all 3 do the leftovers. Ooh, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So it's up to you guys. Again, so we have Yeon.
And we get to-
Go ahead.
No, keep going. Yep.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, we have Yeon. These episodes, I've said, are always the hardest because you have to read the caption. Luckily, Jin's starting to learn English because it's hard to take notes when they're speaking. You okay? What are they saying? Because you miss half of the dialogue because you're taking notes. That was always my complaint with the Sun and Jin episodes.
Did you watch it with commentary? It's one of the ones that has commentary.
I did not know.
Okay.
No, I did not watch it.
I mean, what's fun about this rewatch, by the way, Jack, is thinking about it in terms of knowing the whole series and also where we are now in terms of, society, history, whatever, and then comparing it to our memories of when we watched it the first time, right?
Right.
So what I'm doing now actually is, in addition to watching each episode, I'm actually listening to your original podcast to remember what you said. Okay. But Yeon was the first episode where they mixed flash forward and flash back. And I think it was the only time they did it. And that was clever in the sense that it really is, obviously became classic Lindelof eventually, but the misdirection, right? In terms of making it seem like it was one big flash forward, right?
Right. Well, because you think because I remember watching this thinking, well, okay, Jin got off the island too. He's one of the 6. You're trying to figure out at the time, okay, who? Because we only knew 5 at the time. I think up to this, we only know 5, and we're thinking, okay, he's the 6.
And you weren't sure how to handle Aaron.
Right, because Aaron we didn't know if Aaron counted or not. I think later on we found out he did count, but
right. And it's like there were great levels of disappointment in the episode because you're watching it and you're like, God, Jin is just back to being a dick, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of disappointed that okay, and why isn't he there? And she's about to give birth, and it's like, is he working for Mr. Pike again and stuff like that? And then there's, of course, the additional disappointment afterwards when you figure out that he didn't make it off the island. He's not with her. And
Right.
of course, when they go to the graveyard, it's unclear, did he actually die, or is the date of death just to match up with the rest of the plane crash? But the point is that he's not there, and that something broke. And that something broke is in contrast to the I guess what's happening in the main plot, which is that, you know, he finds out that his wife had an affair, and somehow they're able to work through it.
Should we stop there, because Juliet's trying to get Sun from going, and she realizes did Juliet do the right thing? Did she cross the line? I mean, is it that was a brutal. I guess she's trying to save her life, so she'll do anything she can. Because and I see Juliet's side, because doing this rewatch, you see how she just gets so upset because all these pregnant women keep dying that she's supposed to be there to save, and no one else seems to care except Juliet. But I don't know,
it's a pretty brutal call out, though. Like right in the middle of everything, hey, stop! Your wife slept with someone else. What do they call him? Korean Lex Luthor on the Facebook group. The ball guy. But it's pretty harsh when she does it, and I gotta think, you know, she's already has this, you know, Kate sets it up, right? Like she told the whole story of the whole last episode, which I completely forgot, by the way, like the gas, whatever. And she, you know, they're really leaning heavy on Juliet's a liar. Juliet's a liar. Juliet's a liar. And Juliet's a liar. And she does it quickly, and she does it with ease. And I think she could have gotten another way about it. You know what I mean? But
could Sun have just said, she's lying. She always lies.
Absolutely. But I think one of the other things that they're or maybe the reason why they wrote this dialogue for Juliet in this manner was, and I thought about this when you also look at the next episode, is there seems to be like almost part of the social norms of the island is to be just brutally manipulative, right? You compare the way that she convinces like Sun to stay with the way that Ben convinces Michael to do stuff, or the way that Mr. Friendly convinces Michael to do stuff, right? It's always like this very like, it's almost like punching someone in the face and saying, this is for your own good.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth in the chat says, I hated Juliet in that moment. It was not her tell to tell.
Yeah.
And she's absolutely right. It wasn't. And it was like, I know I'm going to say this, but I'm going to have to backtrack later. And because I look like Elizabeth Mitchell and I can do my eyes like that, it'll work. And it did, you know.
And the weird thing about it is that what she tells Sun later, where she walks her through step by step what will happen to her and the baby, in terms of like within 4 weeks this will happen, or whatever, within 6 weeks this will happen. I don't want that to happen to you. Why didn't she just say that then? She didn't have to go through this like. That's what I'm saying. It's almost like the island way of doing things. It
set up a scene for Bernard.
Yeah,
that was good.
But it's like when you think about it, like in the next episode, the way Mr. Friendly or Ben, I forgot who says it, basically says, if you don't kill all these people on the boat, all these other people that you care about are going to die, and you already killed 2 of them.
Right.
That's how he convinces Michael to do stuff. That's kind of the island way of getting people to do things that might be in their best interest, but are definitely in the best interest of whatever islander is trying to manipulate you, right?
So you guys are on board. You guys agree that Juliet crossed the line.
Oh yeah,
yeah, definitely, yeah.
And I can kind of see why she did it, but again, it, like Elizabeth said, it wasn't her. You know, she could try and do everything, but I could see why, because she gets so emotional. She was so emotional every time a pregnant woman died on the island. So,
yeah, but the question always comes up is like, I mean, you gave a kind of a meta answer in terms of, you know, Jin leaving set up the nice fishing scene with Bernard,
right?
But take a step back. The fact is that Juliet told Sun exactly what will happen from a medical standpoint and from her experience. And probably the more compassionate and rational thing would have been to say that first. But it's like, I think it's almost like instinct for these people that lived in the Dharma village that they have to basically belittle the person that they're trying to convince, right?
But yeah, well, what about that scene though, where a Sun grabs the prenatal vitamins? Oh no, he left.
We lost him.
We're having horrible weather over here, so
yeah.
Where she steals the prenatal vitamins. Juliet comes in and goes so hard at Sun so fast. Oh hey, Eckert.
But she is digging through her stuff.
And Sun is in her own way. Everyone's in survival mode in a certain sort of way, and they all want to get better. They all want to get off the island. Juliet's
right
to the brink of what she has to do. So maybe she did act, impulsively and then want to walk it back because she felt bad about it.
Maybe but it kind of works out. I mean, again, I agree. Juliet was wrong, but it did kind of work out because Sun no longer has to carry that burden of keeping that lie from Jin, and Jin was like, okay, yeah, I was a jerk all those years, and I get it. It's mine. Okay, as long as it's mine, we're okay.
Oh, and another thing that I really when Sun explains and him and Jin or her and Jin make up, they say it was a long time ago, but it obviously wasn't a long time ago. If the question is even in her mind, that
it was just before they got on the plane.
But I mean, I think they're implying that because of their experience with the crash in the island, that time, those few weeks that they've been there, obviously mean a lot more. Like every second and minute means a lot more, given what they've been through, right?
Yeah, because they crashed on the 22nd of September, and we know with the constant it was December 24th.
Right. So it's like the experience that they're having on the island, which is 3 months, right? That is the equivalent of like probably 5 years in terms of regular life because of just the amount of adrenaline rush and all this stuff going on, right?
And we need to talk about.
Agreed.
That's how
I want to talk about the biggest, my biggest beef with the whole thing. You could talk about how Sun, Juliet crossed the line. I thought Frank crossed the line because he brings Desmond and Saeed food, and it's lima beans. I mean, I probably would have taken the can and thrown it at him. I'm not a lima bean fan, so I don't know.
That's what you said in the original podcast too.
Did I?
If that's the whole meal, that's anger inducing. Like
my mom used to make this stuff with lima beans in it. I hated it, but I had to eat it because it was the 60s and 70s, and if it was on your plate, you ate it. There was no,
By the way, my cynical reaction when I saw them giving them the can was like, don't give a can to Saeed. Like the first moment, he's going to knock somebody out with that.
He probably would, wouldn't he?
He'll probably get into something as well besides using it as a blunt instrument. I just wanted to say, and I don't know if it was just, I know we already talked about it real quick, but I don't know if it was just me and my high opinion of myself or what, but I knew immediately that it was a flashback for Jin, simply because of the way they did his hair. I
thought that too.
I always pay attention to that stuff. Hair is so weird to me because they always add, because mine is missing, so I'll point it out. They always add like the corners to make people younger. Mm-hmm. So when they add corners, they did it to Data in Star Trek Picard. It was really, really annoying.
Picard's bald.
To Data.
Oh, okay, because they just gave Picard little things there.
Data was in Picard. Spoiler.
Okay. Great. Thanks. Michael's in Lost. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Dreams. Sorry, more spoilers. So yeah, I always noticed the hair, and on the commentary, they said people noticed because of the phone. It was a really
I do remember the time there was a thing about the phone.
Yeah.
And the thing was, when I watched that, I was like, oh yeah, this is a flashback because the phone. But then I had to remember, I was like, what were phones like when this episode originally aired? So that like it might have not been that noticeable, because I think when did this come out? This came out like 2007.
Well,
Yes.
this was 6 or 7 years past Nokia's, where we all had that, where we're all changing the faces on our phones.
Right, but it was before iPhone really took off.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still like the model that he had probably would have still been okay for that point in time.
Well, no, there's still a Wall Street, there's still the Wall Street, baseline, which is Michael Douglas with the brick, right? On the beach, right? So
Right.
I think it's somewhere between those two. And the Nokia.
Elizabeth says she loves lima beans. I this close to banning her from the chat, but that's okay.
Alexander,
I won't. I'm in a good mood.
Alexander from the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day hated lima beans too.
But I at the time I know I didn't know it was a flash because I at first you're like going, okay, at first you're thinking, okay, is this a flash back with Sun? But then you see she's pregnant. You go, okay, it can't be a flash. Okay, this is a flash forward. And then when Jin's running around, he should have been at the hospital, but you could see expecting father where she goes into labor. She's not supposed to be in labor yet. And you're running around. I mean, I wouldn't be stopping at a panda bear. I'd just get to the hospital. But
and especially when the panda bear is like stolen and you have to go back and some animal offers you a dragon.
Yeah. Well, whose panda bear was it? Did we ever find out whose panda bear he took?
It was
no.
No.
No, there was no thing because I'm trying to remember that there had to be theories on it.
By the way, let me just take a step back and say that, like, listening to your original podcast, you guys dissect every random little piece of information.
You had to. If you didn't, you got called out.
And I was just like, no wonder this podcast was like 1.5 hours long when it could have been 40 minutes long.
You couldn't stop Jay from talking, so that was probably it.
That was part of the problem.
Well, I think part of the problem too, if I go back and listen, probably the first 10 minutes we don't even talk about Lost. It's just
no, I mean, it was just like every detail, like this question, like you guys would kind of debate it, and then sometimes you debate stuff that came up like 5 episodes ago that might have some relevance to this, and I'm just like listening, laughing because I feel like, of course, it doesn't have any relevance. Finding patterns where there aren't any.
But at the time, you just didn't know, though. You had
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I know now. Yeah, okay, the podcast would probably be 15 minutes. Knowing what I know now.
But that, I mean, this leads to another issue, which is that, again, this season 4 was the first season I watched live because I watched season 1 through 3 on DVD. And also this is when I started listening to the podcast. So that, I mean, I was in the same boat in terms of, over analyzing every detail. But now that you know the entire arc, you really can appreciate these episodes more for like the crafting of them. Like the story of like Sun and Jin, like as its own like short story or episode, I thought was fantastic.
Yes.
And at the time I was just kind of like, okay, move forward. Okay. What's going on? What's happening with the others, right? What's happening on the boat, right? Okay, Widmore. But it's like just the story of Sun and Jin, like I thought that was one of the best, later episodes in the series.
This one?
Yeah, absolutely. Just that part of the episode that focuses on them.
Okay.
Like if you think about a standalone story, right?
Sure.
I mean, I would say just as I said before, the different layers of disappointment really show like the kernels from which, leftovers will eventually grow, right?
I'll have to think about that. Get back to you with the leftovers rewatch.
I do like we did find out. We got a lot of answers, I think, in this episode. We found out where the chains came from in Game of Thrones. Remember, because when Regina jumps off the boat, aren't those the same chains from Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
And I agree totally.
By the way,
they found him underwater, right? So
when she jumps out, that's also when the Australian captain comes out, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Now,
You know what? Yeah, right around then, because he tells everyone get back to work.
Now, Desmond and Said are both two pretty smart guys, and Desmond was watching Regina the whole time. Didn't he think about running up there and trying to grab her first, and just said, "What is she doing? What is she doing? Oh, brother!"
I really think they're in a. Oh, she's not really going to do that, is she? It's like a shock thing. Watching. And I was like, is that it for her? Because she had just been in like Death Proof or something for Quentin Tarantino, and I thought this was it. I thought she was breaking through. We were going to see her have a bigger thing. I was kind of.
Well, we could tell because when she's standing guard, she's mopey, or she's just out of it and doesn't know what day it is. Right?
Reading a book upside down.
Book upside down. That's what it was. So we know there's something wrong with her.
Yeah.
But I just thought he could have done a better job. I thought Desmond could have done a better job, maybe running up there and trying to grab her. And then she jumps over, and the captain's like, "Oh well, hey."
The man just had a space-time adventure. What do you expect? He was just back and forth with his girlfriend on Christmas.
Yeah. Wow. Again, he should be a little more caring, a little more. All right, maybe.
I mean, you can rationalize it by the simple fact that things are very skewed on that boat. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff going on that boat, like a whole new level of weird, right? You didn't have people on the island trying to off themselves and then being successful, right?
Anyone hanging around Locke?
Well, I got way more to say about this on Meet Kevin Johnson.
Okay.
But I did want to talk about the section about you were saying that we got a lot of things answered. Over the next 2 episodes, they pound us with this Widmore information.
Right.
I want to know, when was he very first mentioned? Because we met Penelope in the beginning of season 2. So do you guys know when we first heard the name Charles Widmore?
I think it is. I think it is season 2 because Desmond goes to ask for her hand or get a job. No, ask her for her hand in marriage, and that's when he drinks the McCutcheon. But he's not worthy of the McCutcheon. He gives him a fresh.
By the way,
that's season 2, right? That's the last episode in season 2.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because Desmond's in the bookends.
Right.
Right. Okay. I just wasn't sure because.
Yeah, I mean, the McCutcheon line is one of the greatest lines of all shows, and the way that Jack Glatfelter wielded that to hurt Jay Glatfelter is one of the greatest moments in podcasting history, where he says, "You would have not been worthy of drinking the McCutcheon." And Jack said it in some random episode too, not even that one.
Wow, I don't remember that, but that's probably. It sounds like something I would say.
You probably said it in Constant or one of the later Desmond Penelope episodes, just as a random throw aside.
It probably caught Jay off guard too. That's the best part.
All right, Geek Dad likes that. Over. Check it out.
I think they did a good job, though. I mean, if we're talking about Widmore and talking about this episode and also tying into the next one in terms of really making it unclear from the information that's presented, in terms of who actually, staged that fake plane crash.
Right.
Because, you start having the captain give Said and Desmond some information, and then Friendly gives Michael some information, and Ben tells them something too. And it's like you hear that information that's conveyed, and you could say, well, Widmore could have planted it, or Ben could have planted it, right?
Well, you had Michael slid the note because we don't technically know it's Michael yet, and he slid the note under the door saying, "Don't trust the captain." Yet the captain comes and talks with Said and Desmond and tells them everything, shows them stuff. I mean, he was completely 100% honest. So, who again? Is Ben lying? What's going on?
Yeah, but do we know if he's being on? He conveys information, but we don't know if that information, number one, is correct, right?
Well, he tells him that there was a fake stage plane crash. He tells him that Charles Widmore is in charge of the freighter. I thought there was a lot of stuff he told.
And he shows them
we know it's true,
right? But did we ever get an answer later about who staged the crash?
It's Widmore. I thought they just. I basically thought they said it over and over again that it was Widmore. I mean,
the people saying it, like, okay, so since I combined both the episodes back to back, like, and I just heard different people saying information related to this crash, each side is claiming that the other one staged the. I mean, Ben's side is claiming that Widmore staged the crash, right?
Right.
And Widmore's side says they found the crash.
Right.
Okay.
What does Lupita say to Michael in the next episode?
He says that Widmore thinks that plane that crashed isn't the real one.
Okay. And Lupita knows it's not the real one.
Right.
He knew way back. So, he knew before the first time we see him.
Yeah. The point is that I don't think it's ever at least in these two episodes, it's not clear who faked the crash, right?
Who would benefit from the plane being staged?
Potentially both.
Yeah, but
and this actually comes up in when you guys were analyzing this originally in the podcast. Like at one point in time, one of you guys is like, is there a chance that Ben and Widmore are actually working together? And I thought about it, and it was like, they're working against each other, but they might actually be working with each other without knowing it, right?
Yeah, I think that was me. I think I remember saying that.
Yeah, I don't think Jay can't handle that nuance. So.
But I don't think we ever get 100%. But it was staged so nobody could find the island. So you are right. Ben doesn't want anybody finding the island, and Widmore wants the island to himself. So,
yeah.
But according to Ben, Widmore wants the island so he can profit off of it somehow.
Right.
I know Ben had a lot of cash in his hidden room there.
So, I mean, what we can say is that it seems that the Australian ship captain is conveying some information to them that he believes is probably correct, right?
Right.
I don't think he has more information. He's lying, right?
Yeah, he believes it to be true.
Yeah, but we don't know what the ultimate truth is in terms of who actually staged the fake.
Either way, let me ask you a question. What good is the black box going to do to that captain? Why are they like, you take this with you on the freighter? You're going to need
I don't know.
To prove it, or
because it's the fake black box. Right? It has to be the fake one.
Not real.
So,
well, we don't know, right?
No, because the real one is somewhere on the actual island.
Yeah, it has to be.
That's right.
The plane actually crashed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Unless Ben found it and staged the plane crash.
Right.
All right, Eckhart, I know you haven't watched the whole series because we're just doing the 2 episodes, but in the pilot, there's a plane that crashes on the island. In that plane is a black
but we don't know where the black box falls in terms of the water, right?
It's somewhere in between, like the fuselage and the cockpit.
Right.
Yeah. Not on the boat.
All right. Well, that's the question we don't have the exact answers for. We find out Michael's on the boat. Go ahead.
What's great about that, and I'll just wrap this up, is the fact that there's so much ambiguity about it. That keeps the viewer off balance, right?
Right.
Yeah. Even we're confused about it now. And how long ago did it air?
Exactly.
That's true.
It's great.
Scary. Sun has her baby. Michael is Kevin Johnson. Shocker.
Yada yada yada, baby. Okay.
Jin delivers the panda, and it's not to Sun. So we know he's dead, like you said, Eckhart. And then Hurley shows up at Sun's place. Now I know Kate couldn't go because Kate made a deal she can't leave California for 10 years. Jack couldn't come.
It's just strung out, right?
Hurley is so happy that no one showed up. He was like, "Thank God no one's here." I hate those dudes. I hate everyone.
I just, you just think someone else would show up, and then they go to the gravesite, and it's Jin's grave, I guess. Jin, and at this point, we don't know, and as how the season ends, we really don't know because the boat blows up, and we don't know if Jin got off, if Jin survived or not. So we have Sun going, "No!" So,
and that's an iconic scene, right? That's an iconic scene of the show.
Yeah. So we had to wait the whole. I think most people said that Jin would be alive. I think that was the theory out there that he would be somehow alive.
Yeah, I mean,
but I love the way that they built up that tension,
right,
for the rest of the season, right? Because they matched that with, okay, like he was just so understanding and forgiving in that episode, right? And he had the wonderful just had wonderful scenes throughout the episode, and it's like you're thinking, okay, are we going to lose this guy?
Right.
And that's in the back of your mind as you watch every episode until the finale. Is this going to be the week that we lose Jin?
We lost him before the finale in the dumbest scene in the entire show. I think if we're going to go forward, if we're spanning the whole show here, and we're
go ahead and say it.
It would have it. That scene, it makes me more. It almost makes me mad. It does make me mad when he's like, "No, I'm going to stay here with you and drown myself."
I was I said that on the podcast, and I was pretty much alone. Most people said,
but I remember that because that's when that's kind of when I started coming into the Jane Jack fold, is that last half of season 6. And it's when I caught up on all the episodes. And I remember you saying that. And, back then I didn't have a kid, and now I do. And so, yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't make sense to me. Plus, I have no idea how a person can force themselves to stay underwater to drown if they have nothing holding them down. So 2 things. 1, how could you leave your daughter? 2, your daughter that you've never met, or there's a chance you could see her. And 2, what do you do? Just hold on to Sun's hand until you stop? I mean, at some point, aren't you going to struggle for life?
Well, yeah, they probably both did. Some would probably die first.
Well, yeah, he didn't, but he just stayed down there and held on until he died.
Well, the biggest key is who raises Yeon?
Well, obviously, Jin doesn't care, so why should we?
Well, but that was my point at the time. I go, not only it's your child, you have. It's the where people say, okay, you're in the ocean, your wife's over there, your child's over there. Who do you save? You can only save one. Well, I saved my child. Not that I don't love my wife, but my job is to save my children first. And I mean, it's one of those things that you hope you never had to do, never have to deal with. But that's just, and I said that I just said I thought it was wrong, but it was probably 90% against me.
Well, you have to make tough choices in life: chocolate or peanut butter, things like that.
I like both together.
But I like in my peanut butter.
Drowning yourself is again early hints of leftovers.
Well, okay, but going back to what Eckhart said about the arc of Sun and Jin in this episode, I mean, you think about it, and I try to do these rewatches in the moment, but my mind always wanders off to, oh, it's a shame it ended particularly like those lives ended particularly like that, because I thought it was Well,
I think a lot of people were mad too because they finally got together. And they die. So it's like,
yeah.
But if this had been when Juliet tells Jin about Sun having the affair, if this had been season 1, Jin would have killed Sun.
I agree.
Yeah.
So this is a different, because he was in such a bad place at the time, and they as a couple they were in a terrible place. And like you were saying, Eckhart, this episode. It really did show their love because he did forgive her, and I think he goes, okay, I'm I'm to blame for, I have to take some of the blame because, your dad was such an ass to me. So I had to do a lot of things I didn't want to do. So, yeah, I think they did grow, and plus he is excited about being a dad, which goes back to Ethan's point. Okay, then why would you die without seeing your child?
Obviously not that excited.
Well, maybe he was thinking, okay, maybe it is the bald guy's kid. Maybe
yeah.
I do like how they made that villainous philanderer bald as well, Jack.
It's just the way it is. The bald guy's always the bad guy, and if you don't believe me, watch Fringe, watch any show. If there's a bad guy, Lex Luthor,
Dean in The Leftovers is bald.
There you go. He's
not a bad guy.
Speaking of bad guys, moving on to Meet Kevin Johnson. Locke is having a meeting, and no one seems to be. He comes in with Miles, and no one seems to be too happy with Locke because he's let Ben go free. It was the episode before. You're like, okay, why would you let Ben go free? You when are you going to learn, Locke? He's going to lie to you. He's going to double cross you whenever he has a chance. What is your problem?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the mood in that room where they're sitting around there and he comes in is you can just feel like they're all like, should we really still be listening to this putz?
Yeah. I mean, they're all thinking, why did we go with this guy? It's because, and I've been saying this I said this last week. I'd probably say keep going. If you look at Jack, you look at Locke, the leader should have been Saeed.
Yeah.
He was the most level-headed. He knew how to read people because, he was a torturer, but he knew how to read people, and he thought things out. Whereas Jack and Locke ran on emotions. What was ever hitting him at the time.
He makes rational decisions pretty quickly.
Exactly.
And you saw that by the way he acted on the boat.
Right. If I'm going to follow anybody on that island, it's going to be Saeed.
But Locke, and I didn't pay too much attention to Locke, I'm just thinking about it now, is, he's also, there's a great conversation in this episode, I think, where it's Sawyer, Locke, and Miles. Or was that last episode? Wait, that's in the one after it. The one I really... for your next rewatch, I'll skip that. I won't go into that. But Locke is doing, a fair amount of lying.
Well, he's become. I said earlier when Nikki and Paulo were still alive, they want to come on go to the Pearl Station. Is it the Pearl Station? And he goes, we can go. He goes, well, I run things different than Jack. Anybody can go do whatever they want. But when he gets to the compound, the others, everything's changed. No, I'm the dictator. I'm in charge. He completely changes his thought process because he thinks he's Jacob's choice to lead, be the leader.
Well, I'll say it before, it's a part of the great arc of John Locke is this how awesome and badass you think he is, like in the first season, and this breakdown of him when his faith is shattered in season 2. Now that we're talking about it, I totally forgot what he does in season 3 completely. But in this one, he has a bit more confidence, right? And but the confidence is to say whatever comes to his mind, whether it's the right thing or wrong thing. He just says it with confidence.
Right.
And holes are usually punched in it pretty quickly.
But you had even when Ben tells him Michael's the spy on my boat, and then I think Sawyer goes, Michael that killed 2 of our people.
Yeah, that Michael.
And you could just see Sawyer just he's so angry at this point. He's probably kicking himself. Why did I follow Locke? Why did and he knew better. But at the time, he didn't want to go with Jack. What was it? He didn't want to go with Jack, or he didn't want to. I don't know what it was, but he knows he screwed up. Because Hurley knows he screwed up. They all know they've screwed up because why follow that guy?
And you never give up Australia and Stratego.
No, you don't.
Sorry again. That's the next episode.
I was going to say that's the next episode.
All right.
Yeah, but it was probably just 5 minutes later from the scene that we're describing.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I watched that with my son because he just came in and started watching Lost with me, and he put on the next one, which was the beginning of the end, and he started asking me questions. I'm like, you're way too late, buddy.
Blaming your son because you couldn't stop.
I couldn't stop. That's true. You can't eat just one.
I love this says that Josh Wigler and Mike Bloom call Syed the human lie detector, which is true because he knows.
And did they call him that on the show too? Don't they call him that like on
they might have.
Yeah.
But I like that we cut. This is where I got ahead of myself because of the cockroach scene. You hear the siren going off on the boat. Syed I think Syed already had his shoes on. I think Syed was smart. But Desmond's got to get his shoes on. There's probably full of cockroaches. And the captain's up beating somebody up because he doesn't want them to leave the boat. So he said, you got to stay on the boat. We're going to fix everything. And we know now that Michael's the one that's been causing all the problems on the boat.
And he says don't trust the captain, but the captain seems okay.
Yeah. Again, we go back to that point where I think you said it, Eckhart, the captain believes he's telling the truth. We don't know if he's telling the truth, but he believes he's telling the truth. Whereas Michael, I got to ask what I don't understand what he's doing on this boat in the first place. He's got to kill people again and even Ben goes, well, Michael, I didn't kill. That was your choice to kill. And he's like, well, you took my son.
Well, the simple answer, of course, which they describe in the next episode, is that he wants to die.
Yes.
So the only way that he can die is if he, does what the island tells him to do. That's what they're saying. So they're saying like, the way that you die is by protecting all those other people. Because if you don't do this, all those other people will die. Okay.
So it comes back, again, that brings that question. Okay, it's okay. Is this for the greater good? Most of those people in the freighter, some of them are good people, some are not. Lapidus is a good guy. Captain seems like a good guy. Of course, we know that Kimi's not a good guy and his henchmen, so they could die. But is Michael doing the right thing?
I have a question for you guys. If there is a bomb there that is meant to blow up the boat, but Ben calls him and tells him, I need a list of names. I need you to take out their computer. When they're all wacko, I need you to disable their whatevers. And so if that is the plan, to leave them stranded in the middle where they go crazy, and why do they need the bomb?
Maybe it was Ben's boat. Maybe Ben was had the boat, and he had to kill off the witnesses.
But if they're gonna die with sitting in there anyway, they're gonna die whether they're just sit there going crazy.
Because you make perfect sense. Why do you need a list if you're just gonna kill them?
Yeah, and it's only to explain why he knows who Kimi is later, I think, in the next episode.
Right. Right.
And that's what I thought. And I really, I want to say this right now. I break up Lost into pre-Lapidus and post-Lapidus. Like, beginning Lost and late Lost is Frank Lapidus. I think it's a better show with him on it. I think he should have been there from the beginning. I love his characterization. He has the best line of the entire series in season 5 with "We're not going to Guam, are we?" And I just wanted to praise Jeff Fahey for a minute. I love that character.
I actually had the pleasure of meeting him. Really nice guy, and I did save his life. So I will say this because we were at the press thing, and I hadn't eaten all day, so I'm having Mai Tai after Mai Tai. So I was pretty drunk. And so I'm talking to him. We're talking about this toilet at this hotel. And he goes, "You got to go see this toilet." It does everything. And so I go, "Holy!" It had like all these buttons, all these gadgets. So I go, "You're not kidding." So anyway, Joe Pinier had a party afterwards, so he came to the party, but he came a little late. So there's like 50 or 60 Lost people there, and Jay goes, everyone, Jeff Fahey, Frank Lapidus. So all these lost drunk people started going up. So I said, whoa, back off, back. So I kept the stampede from trampling Jeff Fahey. So.
I thought you were going to say you pulled him out of the toilet, which started to malfunction.
No, we had all been drinking pretty good, so it was one of those things where I wish I wasn't because I can't remember everything. Because
did he leave right away after like people started to stampede, or did he feel like
No, he stayed and talked to people, but it was just we had to slow the people down because it was a mad rush to get to go talk to him. It was like, whoa, you lost geeks, back up.
And you gotta be really good and serious to come into something that's moving so fast in the middle of it right now. You know, you're like jumping on a freight train and you're in Hawaii and it's all cool and everybody's chill and you're welcomed in and everything. But then all of a sudden you have to go to Comic-Con or something like that. I'm sure it's awesome and not all at the same time.
I do like
all these lost drunk people. Yeah, there were a lot of lost drunk people.
I do like the contrast of that story to when you guys talked to the actor who played Miles, and you guys asked him like, "How does it feel like?"
That was me.
Was it?
That was me.
Yeah, were you like? He didn't realize up until that point in time that all the Lost fans thought he was a jerk.
Yeah, well, the problem was I didn't say his character. I said because at the party the night before, I was talking with Michael Emerson, and I was saying, okay, is it hard to have a character where you're just so hated? And so he goes, no, so I said, okay, that's gonna be my first question when I see Miles. But I didn't say. I said, so how is it? Do you like playing a person nobody likes? Instead of saying the way I phrased it. But to be fair to me. We'd been sitting there for like 2 hours in the hot sun. I'm like dripping in sweat. I think I was dehydrated. No, I just screwed up. And he just looks at me like, what an ass. And I'm like, he goes, what? I go, yeah, most people were rooting for the grenade, for you to drop the grenade and, he goes, and he may or may not have had some special cigarettes or something.
He had a little run there for a while. He was in that Edward Norton Ben Stiller movie about the rabbi and the priest with Jenna Elfman, Keeping the Faith. It's called.
Yeah,
like a stereo salesman in a really funny scene stealing moment, and he was also in The Sopranos for one episode.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah. He was a really nice guy. I screwed up by asking him a stupid question. He looked at me like, "You're a jerk." But I was like, I'm so sorry. To this day, I won't even watch the clip because it's still on the internet. It's a good global cash card. I won't watch it because I cringe when I go, "Oh God, I was so stupid. I was so stupid when I said that."
I'm gonna watch it after I watch Geek Dad Life.
Okay, do it because but the rest of the questions I thought were pretty good and stuff like that.
So what was the fan reaction to Miles at the time? Because I remember liking Miles, but
people liked him.
I think most people didn't like him,
but they liked his smartness. But I think they grew to like him because at that time nobody liked him.
Okay.
He was is like like I think Hurley said in the episode before. Great, the freighter sent us another Sawyer. Because he's wisecracking and all this stuff. He wasn't well liked. I don't think he was supposed to be liked because his character was, who he was.
Season 5 him, so he was. Everybody liked him then.
Because we see this scene where he sees Michael boarding the ship and he's like, "You're not who you are. Do you want a piece of orange?" And it was almost like that gesture of giving him an orange is mostly considered nice. But you feel like the way that it was coming from him, it was almost like belittling, right?
Well, I remember thinking at the time, is Michael dead because he can speak to the dead?
Right.
But then, he did all these different theories we had at the time. But yeah,
Michael was dead the whole time.
He was. He's dead inside. But I agree with you, Frank Lapidus. He was fun. He was sarcastic. He was a great character. They brought on that. All those characters. I didn't have a complaint with any of them. They brought Charlotte, Miles, Keamy was a good character.
I love Faraday.
Faraday was excellent.
Faraday.
I mean, they really did a good job because, you know, in the past they brought characters on there. Well, they brought a couple on there that we didn't like, Nikki Paulo and some other ones. But I thought they did a great job with that. I like how Michael visits his mom. And his mom says, "No, you're not going to. I can't say anything. There's this fake plane crash. I know you're alive, but I can't say. Yeah, you have to go by a different name. Your son doesn't. He has nightmares because he was so guilty. He told. I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now. If I did what Michael did, I don't tell anybody, especially my son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was probably done in some fit of rage where he got annoyed having to deal with it and said, "You know what I had to do to get you?"
Yeah.
Thing. And I think that scene does a really, really good job of encapsulating in a couple minutes everything, like what their entire time off the island till now has been like.
Now, do you think Michael wants to kill himself because he feels guilty about killing Ana Lucia and Libby, or the fact that he has lost his son again?
All of it.
All of it.
And it's what I was going to say about the first part of the episode, which, of course, when I first watched it, I was kind of like, all right, get to the point. But now at this stage in life, you know, I thought these were great scenes because they paint the sense of hopelessness so well. And it's not the fact of what you just said. It's that he can't kill himself, that he can't end the pain that he's going through, right? The fact that this guy who was trained as an engineer or architect, I forget which one.
Architect, I think.
Yeah, I think it was architect.
Architect.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know, he's a professional, he's competent, but he probably can't work in that profession because, you know, he's basically incognito.
Right.
He's separated from his son. He's got the guilt of killing 2 innocent people, and he can't even kill himself. So I thought they did a great job in those 15 minutes where they're going through that to paint that. And again, you're going to hate me, Ethan, but, you know, hints of Leftovers here in terms of sense of hopelessness.
My favorite show of all time. But yeah, I was actually thinking that myself because it's like he said he can't even kill himself. That sounds like the Leftovers in a nutshell. He can't kill himself.
Well, when we get to the Leftovers, we say that sounds a lot like Lost. Right.
And
I don't think so.
But you guys did during the time too. There's lots of Lost comparisons in the Leftovers, which we'll save.
Exactly. But I like the scene where he gets in the car. He puts a note to his shirt. He's going full speed and just slams into the storage container. Then he wakes up and he sees Libby walking in with blankets.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. You can imagine what he's going. And then it turns out she wasn't there. And the nurse comes and turns on the light. I go, well, there's another patient over there. I go, oh, he's in a coma. It doesn't matter. Or whatever, because she didn't seem to be phased that, you know, let's get some light on here.
That was a good car crash too.
It was well done.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, go ahead.
But then he sells Jen's watch
To get bullets and guns and bullets.
And yeah, so he doesn't want, and then he can't kill himself. Then he tries to shoot, because then who shows up? Mr. Friendly, Tom.
Friendly.
Yeah. So, and he tells Michael, he punches him. Michael tries to shoot him. He messes. Now, did he mess because the island didn't want Tom to die at that point?
Or it bounced off his skull.
Yeah, true.
Bullet bounced off his skull. Yeah, because the island didn't want him to.
And he goes, can you get off the island anytime you want? Some of us can. I'm like going,
he is living it up. Dude. He's having a good time. Did you see that watermelon? Nice carved watermelon. He was in a sweater. He was all shaved, like the exact opposite of how you first see him on the boat taking his.
And we do find out that he is actually, because the rumor had been that the theory was that he was gay, and he's actually gay. And then, but I do like the scenes with him, and he's saying the island's not. I think you mentioned one of you. It was Eckhart, maybe. I think the island's not done with you yet. You can't do this. This is what we want you to do. Go. I just don't know if I'm Michael. I go. I mean, I realize I'm in pain and suffering, but now I'm going to go kill people again. The reason I'm feeling the way I am right now is because I killed people.
He's locked in a box.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Caught in a trap, he can't get out.
I mean, remember, he's at this point in time when he goes to the penthouse, he's already tried to kill himself twice.
That we know of, yeah.
Yeah, that we know of. And by the way, I just want to add here that I guess when he tries to shoot himself in the head in his apartment, he's watching it like something that looks like an old game show. And at the time, again, paying attention to detail, you guys are musing about the fact of how awesome would have it been since it was an old game show, like from like the Game Show Network or something like that. That you see like because it's like 20 years ago, that if it happened to have Terry Quinn guest starring while he still had hair. Those were the type of comments you guys were throwing out there in the first watch, because your mind was so attentive to detail and finding patterns everywhere possible.
Well, I think that would have
because
been that would have been a smart thing.
Because actually, in some prior episode, or even within that episode before, he's watching something that was like expose, which was the tie-in to Nikki.
Well, expose everybody's watching expose at some point. It pops up once, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Popular show, that expose.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like when he shows Michael in the penthouse all the data, like all the proof, right?
Right.
It's kind of like that's where you start seeing like it becomes like a he said, like a Ben said, Widmore said situation, because it's like, okay, you've got all this proof. How did you get it? You either got it from Widmore or you have it because you're saying Widmore did this, but you guys actually did this, right?
Right. Yeah, it's good. It's a great point, because he just says, he goes, he dug up 324 graves in was it Fiji?
Thailand.
So it's like, well, how does someone do that and nobody sees it?
It's just money, and I think that's what they're moving to. It's just money, and who has the deepest pockets, and he's got enough money to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
by the way, I think, Jack, you said before, like the speculation that Widmore wanted the island for monetary or economic reasons, right? I mean, I think you can argue that because Widmore is already super wealthy, right?
Right.
At that point in time, like additional wealth doesn't have the same marginal benefit, but the fact that he lost the island at some point in time, right?
Right.
That he was in charge, that getting it back, that feeling of, overcoming that failure probably has more value to him, right?
Well, he's very competitive. I mean, he's got a huge ego, and he wants. I think Ben's the reason he was kicked off the island, right?
Exactly.
If I remember correctly. So yeah.
I'm assuming that whatever Widmore does, and his intention is purely revenge here.
Now, if you're
the
Ben,
other stuff is secondary tertiary.
If you're Ben and you can get off the island and you've had video surveillance of Widmore, why don't you just kill him?
He's not allowed.
What's one more person for Widmore for Ben? He's not allowed to kill him.
I mean, that's a piece of information I got from the next episode.
Okay.
So, but
by the way, Jack, one thing that you and Jay were debating as you guys were describing the situation is Michael's flashback. You refer to it as a flash medium. Because it was a flashback that happened after the plane crashed. And you guys spent like 5 minutes debating this, like if you should use this terminology or not.
It's a good question, though, because
it wasn't a flashback. I think
you're absolutely right, Jack. Well, yeah, I mean, it was told as something that happened in the past from the present moment. The present moment was, him telling all that stuff to Saeed, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it happened after the plane crashed.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, it's true. It's a flash medium because it's in between, right?
Yeah. And is there anything else that happens in between in the show? Like on the mainland? Maybe Juliet's stuff? No, she's there before the plane crash.
Yeah.
No.
So. Well, I do like that Libby tells Michael, no, don't do it. And his tribute to Libby, who he shot and killed, is to go ahead and do it anyway. So he does it, and then the little flag goes up, not yet, or whatever it said.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Very, very Batman-like, right?
Exactly. Pow, boom, bang. Not
Exactly.
yet. Same Bat channel. Then Ben calls Michael.
Seems like
saying
something the Riddler would do.
he says, and that, I knew the whole time. I remember at the time, I knew it wasn't Walt calling because he didn't know he was on the boat. And he's all excited. Son. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just me, Ben. And it was a pretty good conversation. And that's where Ben says, well, I didn't kill analysts. I didn't tell you to do it. You chose to do it. I still say that maybe Clue told him to do it or something like that. I just think he was told. Why would it still doesn't make sense why he would. Now, Libby was a complete accident. He just turned around and fired. I mean, still he killed her, but it was that
was a gun control issue.
Yeah, he had no intentions of going there to kill. But Ana Lucia, it would make sense because she killed Goodwin. Of course, Ben wouldn't order that because Ben wanted Goodwin to die anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only instruction was the others gave him was to rescue their leader, right?
Right.
And they said, how you do it is up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
true.
Again, it's like this the social norm among the others is basically, the people who you want to help you or do something for you, you have to really belittle them as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, couldn't you just told Ana Lucia, going back to that, saying, hey, I think Jack wants you at camp or something like that. Couldn't you just said something like that to get her out of there?
I think what her whole thing was, she was guarding Ben.
I know, but he said, I'll take over. I'll guard him. I think he could. I think there's something he could have done. He made a bad decision, which is led him down this road where he killed Libby. He goes home with his son. He can't live with the guilt. He tells his son. So it changed because he made one bad decision.
So he makes another one, and he feels really duped by the. I like how he has to explain to Ben everything that he's just been through, even though Ben's the one who put him through it. You open a bomb, you have me, and then a flag pops up, and then Ben with the awesome. That means you're one of the good guys. Call back to season 2.
And then we have Saeed tells the captain who Michael really is. This is not Kevin Johnson.
And then nothing happens.
No. Well, what can they do? The freighter doesn't move.
Yeah.
Maybe puts him in the room with the blood stain and the cockroaches.
Yeah. Well, but please talk about the greatest scene in Lost that happens next.
It is the greatest scene. I left out that earlier. Ben tells Carl, Rousseau, and Alex that they got to go. They got to go. You got to go to the temple. What about the other people? No, the temple's not for them. They can't go to the temple. Go save yourself.
Soulstar and Dolores are over there. You don't want to know them.
Yeah, you just want to go over there. And so we have, they're in the jungle. They stop to rest, and they hear some, and the water bottle, Carl's water bottle has a hole in it. Instead of ducking, instead of saying, get cover, he looks at the water bottle and just stares at the hole with the water running out. And then, of course, he dies. I think it's my favorite death scene in the whole series because he was so stupid.
And especially because they're 5 seconds in between.
Yeah, I mean, there was plenty of time he might have been killed anyway, but at least give yourself a fighting chance. And you're there. You got your girlfriend there.
And they were happy, too. And you notice it's like the last time Alex is going to be happy ever.
Right. Or breathing.
Yeah. And, Rousseau is someone who has been there for so long is taken out in like a second.
Yeah. She let the love of her daughter. I mean, she was obviously going to save her daughter, but I thought it was a terrible plan. 1, 2, 3, boom. She had to have known they were surrounded, that there was no.
Yeah. She's trying to figure out a shock too,
Right.
Plus, and I'm surprised you guys didn't say this in the original podcast. Why, if you're being shot at, why wouldn't you go and it's in the middle of the jungle? Shouldn't you be crawling?
Yeah. Yeah.
From tree to tree, as opposed to like running.
Right. There's no way you're going to outrun those bullets. Yeah. I mean, I was probably focused on the water bottle at the time. So
I would just stoke Carl.
By the way,
just happy he's gone.
Jack, do you remember what your crackpot theory was for this one?
I don't.
Okay. It was, I'm not sure if you actually thought about it as you were watching it or you came up with it on the fly at that point in time. But you were saying like, all right, this is what's going to happen. Basically, the scene continues. And the person that walks out in a jumpsuit type outfit is Daniel Faraday. because it would have been like, and you were correct when you're saying this, it's like it would have been this amazing shock, right? That this guy that seemed like so harmless would be gunning down these people in the jungle, right?
That would have been nice if that happened. I guess I was a little off. It wasn't Faraday.
That would have been
That was
awesome.
a great theory, though. It was interesting, though. Sorry, go ahead, Ethan.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, it's like it was like of course, I can't separate my memory of the whole show from what I'm watching at this moment. But the logical conclusion would be that it would be the mercenaries, right?
Right.
That they ended up being. But I think this underscores the fact that there were those weird time shifts, right? Where things were out of sync, right?
Right.
And they hadn't said that yet, but you start getting the sense of it already in the prior episode where it's like, we haven't heard anything from that ship for 2 days. There's like, where's the helicopter?
Did Ben send them out? I've always wondered if Ben sent Rousseau, Carl, and Alex out because he had Michael on the boat, and Michael would have known that Frank left with who he left with. Did he send them out to go to the temple so that Carl and Rousseau would be killed?
I mean, I don't think so.
Because,
and I'll tell you why. Because he seemed alarmed in the next episode when they get the distress signal.
Right.
Because all the really good things happen in the next episode.
It's a Ben-like move. Something Ben would do, where he would sacrifice people to, okay, I get Rousseau out of the way, I get Carl out of the way, she's back to being my daughter again, where I have semi-control over her.
Yeah, but at this point, I think the pardon the expression, I think getting them to the temple is the trump card, right? Is like a pull out of his pocket, last ditch attempt to save her.
Right.
And at that point, I do think since they are starting to, in the next episode, they make the big turn to a sympathetic character for Ben.
Right.
Right. And so I think at this point they are trying to turn him into sympathetic character.
I don't think I ever felt sorry for him though. I don't remember.
Well, I'll tune in next week to see what they say.
He's just such a slimy guy.
He is. But they really do a lot of work with him to turn him around by the end.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, it's funny you were talking about we don't see Alex much after this, but I thought the flash sideways in the final season, that Ben's flash sideways where he's the teacher, to me that was like that was probably one of the best 3 episodes in the entire series in terms of the story that they told and the acting and the emotional nuance.
Well, the acting is, you got
Emerson,
so it's always going to be good.
Is it Dr. Linus? Is that what it's called, Dr. Linus?
Yeah.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was one of those moments, and actually in many ways I felt the same way with the Sun episode, Sun Jin episode, that part specific to them, this prior episode. It's that you doesn't really move the bigger story forward necessarily, but it gives both the writers like a chance to write something impactful and the actors to act it out, which then I think becomes the hallmark of everything that Lindelof does, right?
Right.
Well, it's the character. Right? It's a character thing.
Yeah. I think what makes it immense is that these scenes and these small stories that may or may not have a connection to the bigger story, they take on a life of their own, right?
Right.
And they give the show even more depth. And I would even say like the first 15 to 20 minutes of Meet Kevin Johnson falls under that rubric too, in terms of Michael's flash medium or whatever we call it.
Well, one thing, and I've said this a few times on this rewatch, and Michael's not one of my favorite characters, just because how he left. But I always thought, why did he have to be a whisperer when Ben just decided, okay, I can't go because it's, I don't belong with this group. Why was Ben able to have at least an opportunity to go to the next level, but Michael's stuck on the island as a whisperer? I mean, who was worse in their life, Ben or Michael?
Ben?
Yeah. So
by sheer volume?
Yeah. So I don't know why Ben got a pass where Michael didn't.
I don't know. I think Michael probably had some dealings with Walt later on the island, but
probably. I mean, maybe that's what. So he could so him and Walt could talk, speak. But I just always thought it was a raw deal that he got.
The question is, why didn't Walt make it? Church.
Well, he was still, in theory, he's still running the island.
But this place happened way after they all died.
I know, but you look at Jacob. He had been there for 2,000 years, right?
The guy's an a-hole.
Yeah. Well, Jacob's a jerk too. But I'm saying though, the person running the island.
I didn't see Allison Janney at that church. That's for sure.
Well, she was wrong. She's the reason her other son was turned into a bad guy, because all he wanted to do was go out and see the world.
Sure, he blamed his mother when he's talking to that shrink of his.
Yeah. Well, and it's really not, and she technically is not his mom.
But she sucks too, man. She passed it down, man.
So there you go. But overall, I thought they were really good episodes. I enjoyed them. They were fun. I like the Michael stuff. We got taller Walt again, where he's like 6'10" now, but they make the window really small or big to make him look smaller.
Colt.
But and then I like this. We didn't talk about it, but when Michael's leaving, Walt just kind of closes the blinds on it. So how does that would have to affect Walt for the rest of his life also?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I mean, he ends up in the asylum that Hurley was in, right?
Yeah, they played Connect 4 together.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, the kid has problems, and I'm sure having to go to an island, having the whole experience on the island, ending the way it did, coming back to your dad, having your dad tell you how he got off the island. I'm sure all of that, and losing your mom, not to mention losing your mom and your dog, because Vincent.
Well, not only that, but you also lost the father figure you had for 10 years when he just said, I don't want to be your dad anymore. You scare me.
Yeah, that's kind of, all that together equals
Then you crash on an island, you're taken hostage and all that fun stuff. So,
and there's what really struck me about this episode, to a certain extent the last one too, is that if you think about the first 3 seasons of Lost, for the most part, it's about overcoming difficulties, right?
Right.
And of course, the shift changes at the end of season 3 when we see what happened to Jack in the flash forward, right?
Right.
And Michael's story really emphasizes that even further, in the sense that it really takes like a turn away from like optimism and hope towards hopelessness and despair. It's in many ways like, probably when I first watched this, I was just like trying to get through the episode, right? Because we want to find out what the smoke monster is, right?
Right, exactly.
But now at this point in time, when we look back at the whole season, and also where we are as viewers in time, that's why I think like these episodes were very strong. Like, I was actually surprised at how strong these episodes felt compared to some of the stuff I watched a few weeks ago in season 2 and season 3.
Once they got the end date, they really could tell the story, and they didn't have to drag it. So that was,
some things really, the great moments stick out, but also the really bad moments stick out. And there weren't, now that I've talked to you guys, because my mind wasn't there at the beginning of this conversation, the bad things that stuck out, none of them were in these 2 episodes, right? So things that stuck out to me that were really bad were in the episode before it, the other woman. I had no recollection of like a gas leak or any of that, which is a whole episode of them trying to stop a gas leak. And the other thing is in an episode behind it where I guess Jack has a surgery done by Juliet. And those kind of things stand out to me as really annoying and, momentum stopping. But nothing in these 2 episodes did. So maybe I'm saying they're not as bad as I thought they were.
So 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs, 2 thumbs. That's 4 thumbs because Eckhart has 2 as well. And you have 2. That's 6.
So 6.
Yeah.
But anything else you guys want to talk about?
In terms of other things we're watching?
Yeah, but I just got fish today, and I think one of them just died.
Well, then no, I can wait.
No, we can talk. I mean, I can't. I'm not going to give him mouth to mouth, but I'm just like going, God, jeez. Anyway.
Just remember, just one pinch and not more.
Well, before I say this, I just want to say, Geek Dad Life, you should check it out. 2, did you guys? I sent you late today this Lindelof interview that was just posted a couple days.
I haven't watched it yet. No.
Me neither.
He covers everything.
Yeah.
And my favorite part is, while The Leftovers is a little part, he does talk about it at length. The whole time he's wearing this trucker hat that says Leftovers final season with a kangaroo on it. But they talk about Watchmen in detail. And they talk about Lost in detail. And they talk about their plan, their overarching plan for Lost and the contract negotiations. And when him and Carlton originally wanted to leave, you know what I mean? So, it's on Collider. I think people who are really into Lost should check it out. It's really good.
Yeah, I'll watch it later.
And I had a Deadwood thing to talk about, but we should.
My wife and I just finished another rewatch. We watched it like a week.
Well, I meant to watch your video that you posted on Crazy Hank, but I never did.
Oh, the video of the truth behind Deadwood?
Yeah.
Gotta watch it.
But I really had a comparison to make to I think Bullock in Deadwood, and you add that to Raylan Givens, you get the Bullock in the Deadwood movie, and it's a super Bullock. Like in the 80s, the Hulk was green and gray. The green guy just smashed things. The gray guy was like smart and could talk. And when they merged together, they became this Hulk that was like the Hulk we saw at the end of Endgame, or in Endgame, right? And I think, that's my comparison to Seth Bullock in the movie. I think because Seth Bullock was really passive in the 3 seasons.
Yeah,
I think Seth was.
You didn't see him beat Alma Garrett's dad, Farnham?
That's like at the climax of the season. Like, I think through the whole seasons, he's, keeping it inside mostly.
Well, in real life, spoiler, if you don't want to know, he doesn't kill anybody. The real Seth Bullock didn't kill anyone at Deadwood.
I think they just use names as a basis for people mostly, right?
Well, no, a lot of it is real. I mean, a lot of it, the character Seth Bullock is real. Saul Starr is real.
Yeah.
A lot of the characters are real, but there's some characters that are not real. Alma Garrett's not real. The son was not real. the fish just rose from the dead, so it looks like it's all right.
Just please tell me Cy Oliver was real, or Cy Tolliver, whatever his name was.
Cy Tolliver was not real. My theory on Cy Tolliver, he was brought in make Al look like a better person. They wanted to be Al to be more likable.
Right.
And in real life he wasn't. Johnny was not a nice guy. He used to beat up on the women and all that stuff. It's really fascinating to if you want to know more, I do have the video on there. But I learned a lot just reading about it. Some of it I already know because I when I watch a show like that, especially when it's real and I'm into the show, I go and look and I want to read up on these guys. I want to know what they actually did, and it's pretty fascinating. And Seth Bullock had a pretty fascinating life, but his brother was never married to his wife. They were childhood sweethearts, and there was no son.
I have a Deadwood book somewhere in this house that I have to find. I'll send it to you after I read it again.
Oh, nice.
I mean, one of the great concepts behind the show is that, I mean, they're picking an area that is like almost in the middle of the U.S., but wasn't under like federal control yet, right?
Right.
So that it was like
it was Indian land.
Yeah,
it's the Wild West out there.
Yeah, literally, but it was almost like Wild West, while the rest of the U.S. had already moved on from the Wild West.
Right.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed. I think watching Justified made me appreciate Deadwood more. Because I like Justified too, and I didn't think I would like Justified at all.
I didn't watch Justified.
I love Justified.
Two seasons, people kept saying, you got to watch it, you got to watch it, you got to watch it. Finally,
so good.
And my wife is doing she loves Timothy Olyphant.
Who doesn't?
Well, the first season, first time we watched Deadwood, she didn't like it because of the way the women are treated, and she didn't like the way Seth Bullock walked. I said he's a gunfighter. Gunfighters keep their hands to their side so they can pull the gun. They don't want to be walking like this. Someone pulls the gun out. Oh, my hands are up here like this. I'm going to get killed. So she goes, I don't get it. I said he's a gunfighter, so his hands have to be by his side so he can pull the gun out. And she didn't like that, but now she says, "Oh my God, he's so handsome! Oh my God, I'm like going, I'm right here. I'm right here."
What? Oh, and also MC Gainey, Mr. Friendly, is in Justified. That's my linking. He's Boyd Crowder.
He's Boyd Crowder's dad.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people from Justified, of Deadwood, that are in Justified.
Oh, and I watched John from Cincinnati again to see if I missed something.
I saw that you were watching it, and there's a lot of people from Deadwood in that.
It's a lot of people. It's almost like they were sorry that they canceled it and took everyone's job away and had to give them a job.
Do you know why I was going to say, do you know why the son, what's the son's name?
Oh, yeah, I know why.
What was his son's name? Why am I drawing a blank on William?
Dead Kid Bullock?
Yeah. Well, I guess the mom was a real pain in the neck.
The stage mom.
Stage mom.
Yeah.
And so she got was it David Milch? And he is it. Oh, the hell with it.
Yeah.
Went and changed the whole script. We're killing him off.
Gone, yeah.
And that's what and that kid's, I think he's done, because I also looked at the actors, what roles they've done since. Sophia did nothing but Deadwood. Supposedly it's worth like $6 million. I don't know how, but she did nothing. So Sophia, the little blonde girl.
Really?
She's now like 25.
But she got all that money from that?
I don't know. They just said her net worth is, I don't know why they put that on there. But I was like, wow, well, no wonder she's not working. Because she's not in the movie. She's not in the Deadwood movie.
I mean, but Alma was very, very shoehorned in the movie. They wanted to make everything. I like the movie very much. People are jumping on me for giving a little bit of criticism to things lately when I like it. And I think being a fan of something, being able to criticize it.
Right.
Yes, I'm talking to you, King George's spit in Hamilton. when I criticize something, I still like it. So when I say they shoehorned Alma in to Deadwood, I just mean that they came up with something to bring her back into town and have her help out with the bank, but she normally geographically isn't in that area. So the movie happened kind of like, how movies happen.
Again, she's not a real character too, so that they had to. And like I said, Al doesn't die that way, and
Did Hearst become a senator?
he did.
He did. Well,
I don't know if he's that much of an a-hole, but Gerald McCraney, who I first started watching on Simon and Simon, and was always like the nicest. He had a temper on Simon and Simon, but nothing like this guy. His acting range.
He's amazing, and he's Major Dad.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's probably one of the characters in TV that I hate the most.
George Hearst is like, him and Cy Tolliver both bring Al Swearingen up to,
Exactly.
So to watch.
You have the worst thing though is when Dan rips out the captain's eye. Oh God.
To watch George McCraney get dragged by the ear again in the movie, it's so satisfying.
Now, did you see in the movie, what's his name? The guy that played the coward Jack McCall and Wilcott is also in the movie.
Yeah, I forgot who he was in the movie.
He's just the guy that says, he killed my brother.
Totally. And yeah, he was a big part of John from Cincinnati too.
Yeah. And when I was watching Deadwood, I've watched, I don't know how many times my wife and I have watched. I've seen it, I don't know how many times. But I was realizing that when Utter beats up Wilcott, he's technically beating up the guy that killed the same actor who killed Wild Bill. And he gets the letter. He gets Wild Bill's letter. Mm-hmm. So, and there was another connection I had, but I was like, oh, I never really put two and two together. But that was every time I watched, I see something new that I didn't see before.
Is Steve the most annoying character on television?
By today's standards, yes.
I mean,
yeah, he's like, he deserved to get hit in the head.
I was really stoked when he died too. Almost more than Carl, but not quite.
Yeah. Well, technically, he's not dead yet, right? He's just.
He's not dead. He's resting.
Yeah.
Who's Steve? I thought, did he become a vegetable?
Probably, yeah. Well, and Manning was partners with a good Tom, but Tom in real life was named Bill. I don't know why they changed his name to Tom, but it's Bill Nuttall, not Tom Nuttall. And
okay.
they were partners in the 10 Saloon.
And which one owned the fire truck? Harry, right?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I saw with him when Seth Bullock sets the timber on fire and the fire wagon goes on and they got the guys running behind them. I go, wouldn't it be faster if they just got on the wagon and by the time you get there, the whole forest is going to be burned down.
It's just much cooler with Timothy Olyphant walking away.
Yeah, it's true. But true. But I'm like going. You see the fire truck coming, being pulled by the wagon.
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question about the movie.
Okay.
Let me ask your opinion.
I just watched it last night, so I.
Good. Those will be perfect. Did I can't believe the question just left my brain. It's gone. I'll let you know when it comes back.
Which character?
I forgot it. It's gone. I'm not going to even try to get it back. That's what I'll do to you guys in your 20s.
Well, I put a question on Reddit. I'm on a Deadwood page on Reddit, and I said, did Alma and Ellsworth ever consummate their wedding?
No.
Now there's a scene where he comes in and he comes to the bank and he gives Alma an apple. He said, oh, such and such. He goes, well, I get conjugal visits or something. Something like to that effect. So it kind of leaves you go, huh? But then you have the scene where she's, kind of hitting on him. He's in the bathtub and he's freaking out.
I think she was hit. She was under the influence of the opioid when he did that. Why he freaked out. But I think they even made a pact before they got married that wasn't what the deal was. It wasn't about that.
I agree, but he does give that scene where he does give that thing where he says, he comes in the bank and he said, and so it's misleading. It's like those unanswered questions in Lost,
right?
And my wife and I go, I think they don't, but it does give a hint that maybe they do, but I don't know. But she's still in love with Seth.
Yeah, she's in love with him, but the fact that she pregnant with his child?
She was, yes.
Yeah, so like that's the main reason they got married. I think was to polite society to hide that.
Correct, because she couldn't have the baby out of wedlock.
Right. Because America.
Yeah. They would look down on her.
I'm killing myself. I can't believe I forgot that question right when I was about to say it. Oh,
about the movie. So you got Utter, Bullock, Trixie, who's not real. Saul Star never gets married.
No.
He never married.
Okay, here it is. I got it. Good job, Jack. You're awesome. So Al and Seth had that conversation about, well, you never come over here anymore. Well, I was just down the street. Are we to assume that they literally just didn't have any contact for all those years? Like he just didn't come in, or it wasn't as frequent as those early episodes? Like after he killed the prostitute, was there just like a rift there? Like did George Hurst fracture everyone so much that
I think there was less reasons for Seth to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, the town was thriving. It was, it was part of South Dakota now. But he's there. They seem to have a close relationship because he calls him Al.
He does.
He does call him Al now. So I think it was one of those things where, he probably doesn't come over there every day. Like
right.
His hardware store was right. I mean, he had other businesses. He had other, he owned a hotel. He owned the hardware store. He was a marshal for the territory. So he, if you've ever seen Gunsmoke, you're just not the marshal of I'm gonna draw a blank on Gunsmoke. I've seen every episode. Dodge City. You're not you're the marshal of the whole territory.
A Lie Agreed Upon Part 1 probably has my favorite scene ever, and that's just when Al calls Seth out in the thoroughfare.
Oh, start of season 2.
Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite thing. Plus, I like Al's hair. I'm always talking about hair in season 2. Yeah.
But he calls him out, and it's just like, he calls him out for a reason, and he did have to wake him up. He wasn't thinking right.
And they were all nice, and everybody kind of was getting along at the end of season 1, and they just had to make sure that wasn't the case. And then Al was like messed up for the entire season.
Yeah, but he also had the kidney stones.
Requiem for a Gleet.
Yeah, I mean that scene is hard to watch. Yeah. Thank you, Al. Thank you. You got a 2 in 10 chance of living. Huh. Let's see. That's I guess that's good. And the Doc's not real. Doc Cochran's not a real character.
He was in Alien Resurrection. It wasn't fun to watch.
He's a great actor. He's a great actor,
but Alien Resurrection gives me nightmares. That's it. That's it for me, buddy.
Joni Stubbs wasn't married. I mean, I wasn't real either. But Jane was. Also, Bullock and Hickok probably never met because he was killed the day after Bullock and Starr got to town.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying to you. It's like he got the names. He got a general person, but then he just used the names to, Well,
a lot of the stories are true. Khan was the sheriff for a while, and it was relieved. The
guy with the mustache and the top hat.
Yeah. E.B. Farnham was married with 3 kids, and he did run a hotel, and he ran a supply store, some kind of store, but he left. I think basically when they kind of phase him out as part of Al's inner circle. That's probably when he technically probably left town. And he was mayor. He was elected mayor.
Is Richardson real?
Who?
Richardson?
Richardson? I don't know if Richardson's real or not. Aunt Lou is real.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if her son is real. And you know who her son, Odell, who's his brother?
I don't know.
Cuba Gooding Jr.
That's who play. Wait.
Cuba Gooding Jr. is the guy who plays Odell is Cuba
Gooding Jr.
Yeah, his brother.
Yeah. Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there, and so obviously the dad is not Almo's dad's not real, but I do love the beating he takes.
Hofstadter, is Hofstadter the guy at the livery?
Hofstadler's real,
but he played the Don King like manager in Rocky V.
You're right. Did he?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
Huh.
I would.
Yeah, he's real, and also the general is real.
Samuel Fields.
Samuel Fields is real. I'm not going to say the other name, but Samuel Fields.
Well, they didn't say the other name either in the movie. I think. Did they?
Did they?
I think they just used Samuel Fields, which I think they should have done from the beginning. But
I guess in the real Deadwood, he was known as that name.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, today you don't want to be, throwing that name around, but I mean, I think Jane says it more than anybody.
But I just don't think it's a historical show, in like a docudrama.
Right.
So,
they could have done. They just could have called him Samuel Fields.
They could have called him
and done away with the other name.
Yeah. But that's me. I'm a lefty liberal. Guns.
Well, again, especially nowadays, you don't really need to use that name. So,
yeah, I think, I understand. But hey, seasucker this, seasucker left. Who cares? Swidgen.
I don't know. I don't think Woo is real. We did. My wife and I were joking. I said, because our cat's a pain in the neck, I said, we should change his name to Woo and just say effing Woo.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so when the movie comes, I'm sorry, I just keep going on.
It's fine.
Don't you think Dan would have had something else going on in those 10, 15 years?
Well, technically, he leaves like 2 years after he starts his own. He gets a partner and he gets married and goes somewhere else with the partner to do his own thing. Yeah.
But in the show, he just sits there at Al's side for that 10 or 15 years.
Right. He's just loyal to Al.
Yeah.
And what killed me about the movie, because in Deadwood, the TV show, Farnham sells his hotel to Hearst for $100,000. I mean, $100,000.
A lot of back then.
1878. Is that what it is? 1878. Whenever takes place. That's like millions of dollars right now, right? Mm-hmm. I would have asked for gold because that's it. You got all these places selling for this. Hostetler sells his place for $1,200. You're telling me that Charlie Utter's place, he couldn't get more than $4,000 for it? And why does Hearst walk away from the bidding at only $7,000 when he paid $100,000 for Farnham's hotel?
Because I think a lot of it has to do with mostly like simple misogyny and
he's a coward.
He's a coward. He doesn't want to be bested by a woman. He does, yeah, basically.
But didn't money seem like it was
tricky?
But wasn't money a bigger deal in the TV show than it was in the movie?
Like the amount of money?
Yeah, because Seth Bullock, it was like all of a sudden $4,000 was a lot of money to him when he owned hotels and his hardware store did really. Because I think I read that Swearingen did like $5,000 a week or $5,000 a night. It was some unheard of. I was like, oh my God. And his place burned down 3 times. The third time he didn't rebuild it. He left. and that's when he went to, I think, Chicago. He was killed on the. He was penniless, and he was killed on the streets, just left to die.
It looks like $100 in 1878 was $2,463.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Now,
so
what did
50
Farnham do
million.
with that money? Because it's just paper money. I would have said, when you want gold.
Yeah, but Farnham's stupid.
What that's-
But in real life, he
Well, I
wasn't.
mean, but
Yeah.
he probably bought some other producing asset with that, right? Where he left the area. Did he leave the area?
Yeah, he moved back to. He was from Wisconsin, and
Right. So he probably
back-
went. If he went back to Wisconsin, he probably logically would have bought a farm, right?
I'm saying though, in the TV show, he has that little room back there with the branches hanging in there. Where did he put $100,000? And everything's made out of wood, and they're using candles to light. The last thing I'm going to have is a place where I have $100,000. At least I got some kind of fireproof. I would have bought a safe or something.
Maybe he's got that good FOMO. You know what I mean? He just can't go anywhere because he's got fear of missing out on all the cool stuff happening around him, you know?
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Maybe he needs to play Pharaoh. Maybe he needs a good Pharaoh dealer. So just hanging out. You know?
But yeah, that's Lost and Deadwood talk.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad we did it because we'll save the leftovers talk for later. I'm very excited about what you said at the beginning of the podcast.
Yep. So if you guys are up for it, sometime I'm guessing October.
Why would I say no?
I don't know. I just throwing it out there.
Jack, you're taking advantage because I will never say no. I will not be like these other people that say, "Oh, I can't make it." I don't know who else you're asking, but I will never say no.
All right.
Okay.
But on that note,
Eckhart says he will say no. It looks like.
No, I'm definitely up for leftovers.
Okay.
To be able to discuss cleaning the gutters with the great Jack Gladfelter. I mean,
and I'm gonna wait. I haven't watched it since it went off the air. So I'm gonna save it and be.
yeah.
Well, it's my Deadwood, so that's where I'm at with it.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
That's it. Are we done?
Yep.
I gotta see if all my fish are alive. 6 new fish today. Oh, nice.
Where that? Okay.
Drive shafts, or for what's the name of the uncle?
Dilford, Smithens.
Anyway, if you're still listening to us at this point, the next
Your problem.
watch will be on July. Yeah, July. We're in July, right? July 19th. Sunday night, July 19th. So we're taking the week off. You can catch up if you're behind, all that fun stuff. But we're out of here. Thanks for joining us. If you stayed this whole time, we appreciate it. If you like Deadwood, if we spoiled you, sorry, spoiler ahead of time. But the show's been off the air for a long, long time. So, and if you haven't seen Deadwood, I tell people, I said, okay, if you can get by the language, it's a great show.
And I apologize for any adult references I made during the show.
All right, guys, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.